I am William Tingling, and this is my story. In my life, I have attended 5 schools before attending my first high school, 4 high schools, and 1 night school before attending my first college. Now, you're probably wondering, why did I go to so many schools? I guess I can classify myself as a misunderstood young man. So I saw myself that way, but teachers saw me as problematic, bad, disruptive, and the list can go on. But the great thing about all that is, although teachers saw me that way, my parents didn't see me that way. And I didn't think that I would make it through high school. But with the grace of God, I was able to finish high school and get my high school diploma in 2005. I was not planning on going to college because if high school was so much of a struggle, college would probably be just as a struggle for me. My parents were not having it. They wanted me to go to college, and as long as I was living in their house, college was the path. So I ended up going to BMCC, got accepted, graduated with my associates in liberal arts, and that was it. All right, mom, dad, I got my college degree. I'm good. I can get a full-time job, whatever. They weren't having that. I had to get my bachelor's, so I applied to Hunter College. I don't know how I got in. I do know how I got in. It was with God's grace. But at the time, I did not understand how did William, this black young boy who was problematic, who was bad, and all these things as teachers saw me, how did you make it to Hunter College? I got my bachelor's from Hunter College, and that was it. I felt that I did well, and I didn't need to go further my education. So I got my bachelor's in sociology, my bachelor's of arts in sociology, and I wanted to go into the social welfare field because I knew that I loved people and I wanted to work with people, but I also loved fashion. So I applied to different social welfare jobs and I didn't get a call back. So I decided to apply to retail stores, and I ended up getting a job at Michael Kors. But while I was working at Michael Kors, I always felt that something was missing. I felt that I could do more. I found myself having conversations with my customers and clients about how they can better themselves. And it wasn't just a shopping experience, but sometimes it was even a session. And I remember one of my clients, she was a principal from Canada, and she was in New York just spending money because she felt she deserved it because she was going through a bad divorce. And we had about 2.5 to 3 hours of shopping. And it was spent talking, and and at the time, Michael Kors, they encourage you to build your clientele by having great customer service and to engage with your clients. So I did that. And it was that moment when I realized I needed to do more. But it was also hard because I was also being recruited to work for Hermes at the time. And while I knew that the Lord was shifting me to work in a different field, I was being offered a position at Hermes. Now, for those of you who do know what Hermes is, it's a very high-end retail store, and I felt like that was it. But I asked the Lord to direct me if I should go into the social welfare industry or just stay in the fashion industry. And he told me that his plan was for me to go into the social welfare industry. I ended up interviewing to be a family counselor with a preventive agency, and it was great. And while I'm working with families, I'm still in awe because I'm just like, God, like, how can this black bad, as they would say, problematic, fidgety young boy work with families, counseling, giving advice? I ended up being at the preventive agency for about a year and some change, and I felt that the Lord was pushing me to work with young people. So I applied to work in a high school, and from the year I left the preventive agency, I've been working in the high school ever since then till now. And I found myself being pulled to the problematic kids, the kids that no one wanted to work with, the kids that would classify themselves as misunderstood as well. And that's where I felt the Lord led me to, that in spite what people said about me, despite how I was viewed, the Lord had another agenda for me. I felt that was it. You got your bachelor's, you're working in a high school, William, you're good. But I did feel there was a pull for me to go back to school. But I felt I couldn't go back to school to get my master's because this problematic child, this bad child, this child that people felt should have been evaluated, how can he make it in a master's program? I took a leap of faith and I applied to Columbia University to get my master's in social work. I will never forget the day I got accepted. I called my wife and I'm like, babe, they accepted me. I didn't think I was capable of getting accepted to any master's program because of what people said about me, but much less a Ivy League college. How can I, the bad child, and I keep on saying the things that people told me because it played on my mind for many years. But at some point in time, I had to accept who God said I was. Man's opinion on William did not matter. It did matter back then, but as I got older, I accepted who God called me to be. I accept there's a call of God in my life. I accepted who my parents saw me to be, and that's that. I say all this to say, no matter what anybody has told you, what they said about you, how they saw you, as long as you know who you are in Christ, and as long as you're able to accept Christ's identity, you can be your best you. You're looking at a young man who people said would not graduate from high school. You're looking at a young man who went to 10 schools before attending his first college. You're looking at a young man who they wanted to evaluate. And this same young man ended up getting his master's this past May from Columbia University. Not only that, but it is with great joy that I can say this same young man who people saw one way, God saw another way. And while people may have written me off, God was just writing the story of my life. It is with great joy that I can say I am currently now pursuing my second master's in education leadership. And it's not because of my own strength. It's not because of what people said about me. It is because I accepted who Christ said I am. I say all this to say, I want you to know that in spite of how people view you, and I'm repeating myself so you could hear it and accept it. Despite of how people view you, despite of what they say about you, God has the final say about your life. If you would have told me when I was 17, 18, or 19 that I'll be a director in a high school, that I'll be working with young black men and women, empowering them, motivating them, and using my life as an example of how they can do it too, I would not have believed you. If you would have told me that I would have gotten accepted into Columbia University master's program, I would not have believed you. But I believed what Christ said, and look at me today. I'm not here to gloat about who I am, but I'm gloating on who I am in Christ. And I want you to accept that, hold on to that, and believe that. This is my story.